What is the dumbest thing you got punished for in school? Watching 3 kids play tag on the playground. It's against the rules. Teacher thought I was with them. I had to spend recess sitting on a log. I was eating a sandwich at my locker after school and got a detention. Working ahead in my textbook. I would get in trouble for reading ahead in my book. We took turns reading, and the kids in my class read way too slow for me to keep interest, so I'd be a chapter ahead of them. I got sent to the principal's office in the 2nd grade because during nap time, I would stealthily read a book. A teacher in my school said that Orlando was the state capital of Florida. I corrected him. He raised an eyebrow and said, "I think you'll find I'm right," before continuing. I said, "No, sir, it's definitely Tallahassee." His retort of, "I'm the one with the degree in geography" was met with "then you'd think you'd know" landed me in detention. When I was 12 I became ill and had to take time off school. I was off for 3 months straight before going back on a part-time timetable. The slightest bit of exercise would leave me exhausted, I lost weight from not being able to eat, and I looked terrible. So why did I get into trouble? For not taking part in cross-country running. I wasn't alone that day, the girl with a broken leg also got into trouble. I got a lunchtime detention for writing too big on the whiteboard. My hair gets highlights in it if I spend a lot of time in the sun. I came back to school after a 2-week beach holiday and got detention because I had colored my hair, even though the sun had bleached it. My lips go purple if it's cold, even if I'm not particularly cold in myself. I got a few detentions for wearing makeup before my mum phoned up and complained. The school provided bus being late. When the teacher who handed out the detentions was confronted by a large number of parent complaints, she responded with, "Not my problem." My school would make an announcement when they knew a bus would be late. Principal would come over the PA and say something like, "Bus 72 and 16 are late this morning. Please excuse any tardy students." You would think other schools would do it too. Got suspended for responding to the prompt, "What one item would you bring with you if you were a pioneer on the Oregon Trail with a rifle and bullets?" I was in the 3rd grade. Dad took me squirrel hunting on the day I was suspended. Turned out better than expected. That's not only stupid to punish you but is probably one of the best things to take. I got in trouble for continuing to play tag after they told us we weren't allowed to play because it was too windy. The wind could have blown your arms upward into each other's eyes. I was given an after-school detention on my 8th birthday for leaving my lunchbox in the playground by accident. In high school, the year I got there was the year they instituted a rule that you had to display your id at all times while at school. If you didn't have your id out, you could get detention. Due to reasons, I got to school about an hour before first bell and had zero way of getting back home or getting anything from home. Well, until the end of school, of course. So I get to school and realize, oh noes, I forgot my id at home. Well, no problem, I'll just go to the office and get a temp one. Welp. Turns out I should have tried to make it through the day without my id, because I got detention anyway, and I knew that I had a greater than 95% chance of making it through the day without anyone who cared noticing I didn't have my id out. But no, I tried to do the right thing. Well, frick you school, you taught me a terrible lesson. I went to an extremely conservative Baptist high school in Guam. I was punished for some pretty insane things. Hair being too spiky, singing Feliz Navidad during Christmas time, too worldly of a song, and getting caught with DVDs of mainstream movies. I was eventually expelled when a group of the super religious students sold me out for drinking a beer at a friend's birthday party on a weekend. At this time the drinking age in Guam was 18. I was 18 when drinking said beer. 4th grade history, talking about the pioneers moving into the American West in the 1800s. The assignment was to come up with a list of things you would pack in your wagon if you were moving 1,000 miles into the wilderness. All of the kids in the class had the usual stuff: food, clothes, medicine, a tent, blankets, etc. A few of us, including myself, had toilet paper on the list because why wouldn't we have it on the list? Toilet paper is a perfectly reasonable thing to pack, right? Anyway, toilet paper offended our teacher's Puritan sensibilities and everybody who listed it went to the principal's office and got suspended from recess for a few days. In 3rd grade my mom had me do some experimental ADD medication thing that caused a bunch of weird tics and crap. Apparently I kept making some face because my teacher drew 3 stars on a post-it note, and whenever I made the face, she crossed off a star. I lost all 3 and got 3 days in detention for recess. Plot twist, I didn't actually have ADD. True story, I got out of school suspension for skipping school. I got that too. Seems really dumb. He doesn't want to come to school. I know. Let's stop him coming to school. Downloading and printing the entire script to Interview with the Vampire. It took almost 10 days to print. This happened in 1995. They couldn't figure out how to stop it. I was suspended for a week. Working in IT. This is the only one that had me laugh out loud. I got my desk taken away from me in 2nd grade for collecting rocks in it. I for some odd reason used to stash my scrap paper in my desk instead of the trash in 1st and 2nd grade. Don't know why, and I'd stress out that the teacher would be mad at me because they did periodic desk checks. I once coughed in an exam and the invigilator thought I said pedo when I did it. Fast forward 6 months and before mentioned teacher gets asked to leave and it emerges he had been getting way too friendly with young students. Funny thing is that I genuinely just coughed. Methinks he may have had a guilty conscience. Well, that's a little Freudian of him. I got detention for saying okay to my home economics teacher in middle school. Seriously, we were in class and she asked me to do something and I replied, politely, okay. The teacher has a detention board and a day later I see my first name on it. I have a very common name and, joking with her, went haha that's for me right? She said it was. I asked her what I did and she said it was because I replied okay to her when she asked me to do something and she hates when people do that. She just wants them to do it. I was stunned. I told her I wasn't going to detention. I got home and told my mom what happened. My teacher's son was in the same grade as my older sister so my mom knew the teacher. She ended up calling her and the teacher apparently was fumbling over her words trying to justify the detention. The next day, she goes to me you served this detention right, as a wink wink nudge nudge type of thing. I said no and I'm not going to. She goes no you served it right. I decided to just say sure and that was that. You should have said okay. Not being able to read the teacher's handwriting. Looking back the whole situation was hilarious but at the time, he was a tyrant of a teacher and everyone was scared of him. He was writing notes on a whiteboard which we had to transcribe into our notebooks. One of the sentences had the words glass tube in it. He wrote the SS in a way that it looked like an M. Being young and naive I asked what is a glam tube? He went mental, shouting at me and dragged me across the desk by my ear screaming about me not being able to read and shouting glam tube. I'm sure it ended up in a detention for me. Less than a year later he was dismissed as a teacher from the school due to anger issues. I imagine a giant wrestler in a teacher's uniform throwing a kid across a room, yelling glam tube. I was flirting with a girl I'd known since we were 4. Special needs kid got angry and punched me in the face. I got suspended for fighting. I forgot my swimming costume for PE, gym, and got a detention, even though our lesson didn't include swimming. I got an in-school suspension for not attending an optional assembly. Not only that, but because I was suspended, I got kicked out of the National Honors Society. I had my teacher's signed permission to stay in his room. We had a new principal who was trying to establish dominance. I've never hurt anyone, but I really wanted to punch his smug face. In 5th grade I was not allowed to go on our field trip and had to sit in a room alone reading the entire day all because I fought back when another kid punched me in the eye. Frick zero tolerance policies. Little did they know, I love sitting in rooms alone reading. I got morning detention for running my hand against the brick wall in middle school. I was talking to my girlfriend and wasn't paying attention and just dragging my hand along the wall as I walked down. Supposedly the teacher thought I was banging on the walls. Got suspended for throwing paper airplanes in elementary school. Also my little brother's friend is in elementary school and he got in trouble for sexual harassment for saying this roses are red, violets are blue, no girl on earth is prettier than you. Misogynist pig. For me, it was whole class detentions. I was always the quiet kid who would get on with work and was rarely disruptive in class. Most of the teachers were well aware of this. but sometimes I would end up in detention because some people were misbehaving and the teacher simply held the entire class back, including the well-behaved ones. It happened quite a few times and I really hated it. The justification was that the good kids would pressure the bad kids. Somehow, how teachers thought a shy, quiet kid like me could pressure the class dumbbell to keep quiet, I really don't know. I got detention for cheating in a test because my score was too high. I didn't cheat, I just studied. My brother was just punished for cheating too because the words he used weren't 7th grade level. He legitimately did his essay without copying anyone else's work. It makes me angry that teachers do this without any sort of proof. I got jumped, unprovoked by a spiteful girl. I didn't initiate the fight or anything, but I still got suspended for 5 days. Stupid school rules. No tolerance policies, or whatever they are called, are stupid. If someone hits you, you're going to get punished anyway, so you may as well just hit back. First year of high school, only been at the school for about 7 or 8 weeks and I got sent to the focus room, what we call detention pretty much, for wearing black socks instead of blue or white. I went to a public high school and it was the principal that saw me and she had to literally get on her hands and knees to check the color. I was once stabbed in elementary school and I got a detention for instigating it. Apparently don't stab me is classified as instigation. Nothing. My 4th grade teacher was deliberately giving me lower grades for no real apparent reason. My dad actually took a night to calculate the grades I was making with all the homeworks and tests and things I had, and said I was actually making A's and B's. A buddy of mine once had 10% of his grade lowered on a report because when he stapled them together, he did it horizontally instead of at a 45-degree angle. I thought that was ridiculous but couldn't help laughing. My French teacher did not like me for some reason I could never guess. Anyway, one day during her exam she came to my desk and accused me of cheating when I wasn't doing anything wrong. So, I protested and said I am not cheating. She then proceeded to take away my sheet and asked me questions on test verbally. I replied correctly to all her questions. Now that she knew that she got nothing on me, she wrote -5 on my sheet because of me daring to protest. At some point these power tripping teachers need to just stop. When every kid in class is watching her be a dumbass, she's losing more respect than she's gaining by being a C. Dropping a pencil. Got shouted out for possibly breaking the lead inside the pencil. It was a fricking pencil. If somebody broke the lead in my fricking pencil I would be so annoyed. In elementary school a friend and I were written up for having a food fight. We were sliding an apple slice across the table to each other. The lunch monitor after school supervisor helicopter parent flipped crap and started screaming at us and dragged us to the principal. Once I got home my dad whooped me and it peed me off pretty good. I mean I did a lot of dumb crap in elementary school that warranted whoopings, but this one was just dumb. In 2nd grade, 1993, I dress up as Aladdin for Halloween. My grandmother worked hard to make the costume as authentic as possible, down to the little patch on the leg. Everyone complimented me on the costume and I was riding high. Then I heard sobbing. Some little crap named John, a crybaby and overall crap student, also dressed as Aladdin, but his costume was garbage. No fez, just an off-color purple vest and some tan sweatpants. He was weeping uncontrollably because my costume was better. He ran and hid in the coat room. My teacher flipped her crap on me and made me apologize to him. I didn't do anything wrong. I just had a better costume. I reluctantly apologized to the little crap, shook his hand, and was forced to remove my costume and let him wear his. Frick that kid. This is just the opposite way of dealing with a problem. The kid now thinks that if he cries hard and loud enough, he will get what he wants. You have been visited by the swole skeleton. He'll give you good calcium if you subscribe in 5 seconds. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.